Salutations, fellow idiots. Welcome back to yet another episode of that Nocturnal Emissions, baby. We are back once again with world famous full moon fanatic Jester Mikey. He is officially on air as of this Christmas. Welcome back, buddy.
Yes, hello there. I'm officially on air. Yes. How's everybody doing? Let's get started with Puppet Master 3.
Fucking A, when good puppets go bad. We are also joined, of course, by Mason Egan, aka Megan, and his co-host for the evening, Blade, the bearded dragon. Absolutely epic. Our first animal guest on the show. Hopefully not our last. We'll figure out other ways to get critters in here. He looks like he is sleeping very peacefully. Man, I remember you posting about your bearded dragon at some point. Didn't you get him as a gift as well?
Yeah, as an early Christmas gift. Yeah.
Such a cool gift.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the posts. It's super sick, dude. I mean, a pet, especially if you don't already have a bunch of pets, can bring a lot of joy into your life, you know? I don't think I've ever been gifted a Christmas puppy or anything like that. You ever get anything like that, Mikey?
No, not really. I never really got any Christmas pets. But I do have a dog, a Jack Russell Terrier named Cooper. It's upstairs right now. We got him for, I think, last January.
Hell yeah. And he's going to be a gift for many Christmases, I'm sure. Jack Russells are fun. I got sea monkeys one time, so that might kind of count. You know, they are living creatures. Sea monkeys are a lot of fun. You guys ever mess with those as kids?
No. I mean, I have heard of them.
No, I never had any of them either.
Oh man, they're so fun. They're just the most like low maintenance pet that you could ever imagine. They're these little brine shrimp that you hatch in these little plastic aquariums, and then you just feed them once a week, like this little tiny itty bitty spoonful of this green powder that comes with them, basically algae, and they just eat that shit and swim around and make babies, and it's awesome. I got into playing with them as a kid because I'd always see them in the comic book like ads, you know. And then eventually I saw a set of them at Walmart and I got those. And then so for a while, sea monkeys was like something people would give to me, different sets that I didn't have. At one point I had thousands of them just flourishing. Then I went to Ozfest, and my neighbor that I tasked with feeding my sea monkeys not only didn't feed the sea monkeys, he came in, left a window open in the house, and they all froze to death. So sea monkey genocide happened during the year of Ozfest 2006. It was a sad time. But yes, I did get a sets of those for Christmas before. So I guess I have got a Christmas pet. It's not quite as huggable as Blade there, though. He looks like a peaceful little feller. Does he get pretty animated when he's awake?
Yeah, he does. Like especially like when I can't take him out for the so you get some fresh air. Yeah, like sometimes he just likes to rest on my hair. Yeah, while other times he could just mostly just crawl around, try. Like even when I had him out to get ready for the podcast, he was basically like trying to jump off my hand till I kind of got a little resting place.
Yeah. Do you have a little harness for him so you can walk him around and stuff on a leash?
No, not yet. I think I have to wait until he actually gets bigger for that.
Hell yeah, you should get him one. And you should get him a little trench coat and a top hat made for Halloween so you can actually be Blade for Halloween. I think that'd be pretty sweet. That's rad, dude. Thanks for bringing him on. Definitely a welcome addition to the show. I had a gecko once, but it didn't end well. Tonight we're going to be talking about Puppet Master 3. Arguably most people's favorite Puppet Master maybe in the entire franchise. You could say this is basically the Dream Warriors of the franchise, or, you know, the Friday the 13th Part 4 final chapter of the franchise. It's the one pretty much people go to as their favorite, their odds-on favorite. And I would think that we all agree with that. It's probably solidly the best movie in the Puppet Master franchise. It might not be my favorite, but it's definitely the best. It was directed by Dave DeCoteau. It was written by Charles Band, C. Courtney Joyner, and David Schmoller. So quite a pedigree of people involved in making this come to life just right out of the gate there. It stars Guy Rolfe, Sarah Douglas, Walter Gotell, Ian Abercrombie, Christopher Logan, Aaron Eisenberg, Matthew Faison, and Richard Lynch, absolute fucking legend. It has cinematography by Adolfo Bartoli, not the first time he's shown up on the show. It obviously was distributed by Full Moon Entertainment and Paramount Home Video. It was released on October 17th of 1991, probably one of the best release dates in Full Moon history. Perfect timing. It runs a cool 86 minutes. It had a budget of $800,000, and I can believe they spent every penny of that. What, is your history with Puppet Master 3, Mikey? What's was your first impression when you saw it, all that jazz?
It was really awesome. It's like a real true superhero Puppet Master movie, and I saw it when it first came out. I went to a Blockbuster for Halloween, and then I watched it again like a few months later on the Sci-Fi Channel. And years later, I finally went to again at Blockbuster, and I got the DVD set, a Blu-ray, and I've watched it all the time. I've been watching it since. It's, I would say, yes, the best Puppet Master movie ever. It's like the real true superhero thing of Puppet Master.
What about you, Mason? What's kind of your history with Puppet Master 3 and in general first impressions of it?
So yeah, like when Puppet Master 3, mostly when I kind of saw when I the first impression was actually when I first saw the trailer. In a way, it was actually like one of the first sort of prequel films of any franchise I'd actually see, which I actually found kind of interesting. Like in a way, this well, by the time that this film kind of came out, season 2, all of this basically chronologically takes place as technically like the first in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it is actually pretty interesting, and could also be sort of like the main pinpoint of what the franchise will end up being at. Like the Nazis actually play like a pretty huge part in this film, and kind of that carries on through other films. It's the introduction to Six Shooter, who would actually become a much more reoccurring character in the franchise. It's the introduction to Guy Wolf, who plays Andre Toulon,
Mm-hmm.
and being an origin story to both Blade and Leech Woman.
Yeah, so it hits a lot of points where it's really like just monumental. There's no argument about it. I mean, this is the series finally finding its footing of being exactly what it's meant to be and sort of settling those final elements in place that would make it iconic at the same time. Man, that is a nice 6-shooter replica right there, Mikey. He is a beauty.
It is. It's like the best 6-shooter replica yet. I have every single one.
I just have whatever that last one was they were selling. And he's nice too. I like it. When I got 6-shooter in the mail, I was not prepared for how big that fucking replica was going to be. He's like the size of a small child. In fact, I think he might be bigger than my girlfriend did.
Which makes him even taller. Yes, and that 6-shooter you're probably talking about is probably this one right here. This was like the last one they came out with. It was still available, but it's probably gone now.
Well, they fluctuate, Are they not planning on releasing any more of that last line of replicas? Is it all only the new shit that they're doing? I haven't been buying from the website in a while.
They might still be on sale. I'm not sure. I'll have to check later.
Right on. So it goes without saying, you probably fucking loved this movie, just like the rest of us when you saw it, right, Mason?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's hard to find, in honestly Full Moon's entire catalog, a more universally loved movie. I think everybody kind of agrees Puppet Master 3 rules. I know a couple of people that don't even love the Puppet Master movies, but Puppet Master 3 is in their favorite Full Moon lists, So my first impression of it was pretty much just exactly what I'm going to echo the same sentiments. It was fucking awesome. It all kind of hit exactly where it needed to be. As a kid, I don't think I knew that there was Nazis involved to some level, but seeing them come to the forefront of it really hyped me up. Not because I'm into, genocide or, supreme races or anything, any of the ideologies, but because my grandpa was in World War II. So I always liked, learning about World War II, learning about the Nazis and the crazy, creepy shit that they were getting up to. it was something that I was into from a very young age. And so this movie struck the iron while it was hot right there with that stuff, because I think I was like, I want to say like 8 years old. I feel like that was been the running theme with the Puppet Master reviews that we've done. I feel like I was right around like 8 or 9 years old when I saw these for the first time. So also avidly invested in learning about the history of my grandpa going through the war and doing early book reports on the Diary of Anne Frank and all that stuff. So Puppet Master 3 really had an impact on me with that. And especially in the way that they didn't like shy away from portraying the Nazis as real reprehensible pieces of shit, you know. Obviously we don't have to see any of the major horrors they were involved in this movie. I think that would bring down the vibe considerably. But we get the Nazis running around in this sort of comic book style of like Captain America or other things like that, where they were very much the bad guys, the sinister evil. And we get the homely Andre Toulon in there as like the force of good that's turned to evil deeds because of their transgressions against him, you know. Absolutely perfect cast on this film. The soundtrack obviously is great. I mean, we got Richard Band on the music again, on the keys, and he does not ever disappoint when he does these soundtracks, especially for the Puppet Master movies. I think they did add some new musical suites into it with this one and kind of just expanded on it further like they've been doing with it the whole time, and I have no complaints there. I don't know. Should we break down just the general plot and then just sort of share favorite scenes and musings about the puppets and whatnot? Because this movie is just really a collection of awesome fucking scenes. There's really nothing in it that I can think of that's bad, you know? What were you going to say, Mason?
I was going to say, yeah.
So basically, plot of it is, you know, the Nazis are having this scientist guy try to come up with this formula that can reanimate their soldiers so that they can keep fighting on the battlefield. And they're like pretty obsessed with it. And this is sort of true to life. They were working on stuff like that during the actual World War II. It's not really going to plan, but at some point, one of the Gestapo dudes, who were pretty much the secret police charged with going around harassing random citizens, rounding up Jews, making sure that, you know, everybody was towing the line for the Führer and everything, he ends up stumbling across Andre Toulon's puppet show. Andre Toulon is this genteel, very sweet old man with a kind of a smoke show of a wife, to be honest, who's running the best puppet show in town. All the kids love it. Unfortunately, he's somewhat critical, not even in a bad way. He pokes a little bit of fun at you know, Adolf Hitler in the show. I mean, it's, you know, it's looked at as being like anti, you know, Reich propaganda, essentially. So at the same time as wanting to bust him for that, they also realize that this dude has somehow animated these puppets without strings. And through further spying, they realize he actually has this serum. It's essentially the serum from Reanimator that he uses to bring these puppets to life. So naturally, the Nazis want to get their leather gloved mitts on those things and be able to study them, as well as, you know, reverse engineer the serum or force Toulon to tell them its secrets. And that's kind of what the movie turns into. The Revenge of Andre Toulon, the subtitle, comes in because in the process of stealing the puppets and the serum, his wife tries to stop them. They kill his wife. He turns her into Leech Woman. The rest is history. So I don't know. Do you guys have any favorite like characters on the villain side in this movie? On the good side, obviously Toulon is going to be the star of the whole thing as far as the human characters, because man, does he just give an amazing performance in this. Guy Rolfe is an absolute gem. Let's start there. What do you think of Toulon in this and the changes they made to him from Puppet Master 1 and 2? I mean, the character's evolved considerably at this point. So we'll go with you first, Mikey.
Well, unfortunately, Andre Toulon's a good guy, so in this one, Puppet Master 3, he's a good guy. He makes the puppet shows, and the Nazis try to stop them, and he kills the Nazis away. But then in Puppet Master 1, like, he hides the puppets, and two Nazis go after him, then he kills himself. Then in Puppet Master 2, he comes back to life, the puppets bring him back to life, and he's like whole different, and he's trying to keep the serum for Elsa, and the puppets kill him in the end. But in this one, he's like a real true hero, and he sends the puppets out to stop the Nazis because Nazis kill his wife and the Nazis gone too far, and he's a hero.
That he is, yeah. I mean, I personally really appreciate the evolution of the character, especially revisiting it again for this. It's like, man, they really took something that was in the first film. He was just a throwaway piece of the puppet origin. He was just the guy who brought the puppets to the hotel and had brought them to life. Essentially, it was just meant to be mystical. I don't think there was a lot of thought put into it. It was just, we've got these living puppets. We have to explain how they got here. Here's this old dude that was running from presumably Nazis. In part two, they go in a weird direction with it because they were just letting David Allen have fun. So in a lot of ways, I kind of look at this as the real Puppet Master 2. Like, this is the, I guess, natural evolution from the first one, whereas in a lot of ways, Puppet Master 2 was a natural evolution, but in a more horror-oriented direction, where the puppets were still the bad guys and eventually had to take revenge against their creator, kind of a thing. Sort of a Frankenstein and his monster deal, but really twisted and with tiny dolls, you know. I think that this one follows up the first one better, because in the first one, as creepy and weird as the dude was, Toulon's still kind of sympathetic in that first movie. So this plays off of that and builds on it in a good way. What do you think of Toulon in this one, Mason?
I gotta say, Toulon was a really good character. This one, it really kind of dives deeper more into who he actually was. As in the first film, it was basically like a knowledge of what kind of person he was. He was just like an old man who makes puppets, and he knows magic. The Nazis are after him. Then he has to kill himself to keep the secret safe. Say the Puppet Master 2, he's reanimating, basically just went insane, saying because his brain was basically came to why and came to infatuate with this one girl who he thought was his long deceased wife.
Yeah.
So when he kind of get an idea of who he is, and Guy Wolf actually does a really good performance as mostly this kind-hearted puppeteer who is led on this path of vengeance because the Nazis killed his wife. Kind of coming off as sort of an anti-hero. Like he does like a few once he kind of, especially when he started talking about getting revenge on them, he kind of sounds pretty sinister, like going all, "You will cry me mercy, but I will have none. No mercy, my friends. I love it. No mercy."
Yeah,
No
that's
mercy.
the best.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite scene in Puppet Master history is that moment.
Yeah, and basically, like, Guy Wolf playing Andre Toulon is like when Kane Hodder wore the Jason mask in Part 7. Though not the first one to basically play the role as Toulon, he is the most iconic in it.
Yeah, he cemented it. People will forever think of Guy Rolfe when they think of Andre Toulon. You know, so rare subsections of people that have only seen the first one and none of the sequels will always think of the dude from fucking Christmas Vacation or whatever. But we know who the real Toulon is. Respect to that other dude for being old and creepy, but yeah.
Yes, I believe so. He was Andre Toulon in most of the Puppet Master movies. Yes, Guy Rolfe will always be the one and only true Andre Toulon in my book.
He managed to still deliver a killer performance where all they used was his fucking head in later movies, you know? So just in terms of pure acting prowess, the dude deserves respect for that alone. A lot of people have often wondered why his, accent was not German or whatever, but he wasn't German. I think he was French, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it kind of when he was French, like in French, and then he just moved to Germany. Yeah,
some shit like that, because they lean into the French accent hard in Retro Puppet Master. So I'm guessing he was originally at least raised in France. He's one of those he's European ambiguous is what he is. He's probably from several countries.
Yeah, that's what you have to say. Like, he's probably French because Retro Puppet Master takes place in Paris.
True enough. So what do we think of our main, Nazi characters in this movie? I guess we've got, Richard Lynch's Major Krause is obviously one of the, the ones that immediately comes to mind. Probably dude played one of the best full moon villains in 2 different franchises. You know, he's in Trancers and in this, and kills it in both of them. I just honestly think that the dude can do no wrong. I've seen him in several other genre films over the years too, and he's just pretty much always enjoyable. And then another character that we've got is Dr. Hess, played by Ian Abercrombie. I think that guy is honestly one of those dudes that would have had a crazy good full moon legacy if he could have survived this film, but unfortunately that's not the way that it goes. I really like Dr. Hess. I mean, yeah, he's a Nazi, but he's like a nice Nazi, right? Like, and it's their subtle way of putting in that thing in the film where it's like people from all walks of life got sucked up into that shit. You know, like most of the Nazis were bad, but there was definitely normal people that also just kind of towed the line because they had to, you know, and this scientist guy was swept up in it. And I think Toulon respects that, or understands that, and respects him as a man of science or whatever. And so that he like shares the secrets with them. And I think that is that the only time he just like shares it with someone casual like that. I think later on it's more planned out. And this one, it's, I think Toulon figured he was probably going to be executed or something. So he's like, well, this guy seems nice enough. I'll kind of explain a bit of it to him and let him know about it, you know? So I really like Hess. Hertz is, I believe, the name of the dude that, you know, basically fucking, no, that's little Peter. Excuse me. Who's the dude who plays the really Weasley guy? Oh, Christopher Logan as Stein. That guy, the little Weasley fucking spying son of a bitch that outs the whole situation. What do you guys think of him? Or any of these guys? I mean, I'm sorry, I kind of stole the show there for a minute. What do you think of these Nazi characters, Mikey? Those are really kind of the main 3, other than the general guy.
Well, they're very evil, of course, and of course, yeah, Stein is a spy. He takes pictures of what Andre Toulon is doing with his puppets, and sees that Toulon's got the formula that he puts in the puppets to keep the puppets alive. So he makes the pictures and sends it to Dr. Hess and Major Krause. So they want to get with Andre Toulon to steal his secret, so they could use it to bring back dead soldiers and keep fighting and conquer the world. So they go to Toulon, they kill his wife Else, and they try to take him back. And of course, Tunneler and Pinhead kill those 2 Nazis. And Dr. Hess, I guess, is well, he's a Nazi scientist, but he's kind of good in a way because he helps Toulon, and they share the Toulon shares his secret, and Dr. Hess kind of helps him escape. So after Sixture shoots down and kills the 1 Nazi, he comes back and stabs Dr. Hess. Dr. Hess is dead, and that's why Andre Toulon brings Dr. Hess back as Blade, and Blade's finally alive.
Right. And I mean, it's such a good tribute to the dude because, you know, he was so interested in the process, and then he ended up inadvertently becoming a part of it, which is pretty cool. And I guess maybe that is his penance for being involved with the Nazis on some level. And then he got to live a just life as Blade, like actually being an instrument of justice and vengeance and all that stuff. So real cool touches like that put into this. You could tell they really thought about this movie. They weren't just trying to, they knew they had to solidify the franchise and make it iconic with this. And they succeeded on both levels, you know. Mason, what do you think about, do you have any other thoughts you want to add to the 3 main Nazi characters in the film there? I mean, again, I guess we have, you know, General Mueller, played by Walter Godel, but he's just kind of there to yell at them a bit and then get shot out of a window by 6-shooter. That's kind of his job in the movie, so I don't really give him as much credit.
Well, because General Mueller doesn't want to hear any more excuses. He says that in one scene.
Yeah. Pretty much, he's just that boss that's like, you need to have it to me by Friday, you know. That's it. And then he gets shot by 6.
Yes, and Major Krause tries to get him. Of course, all the Nazis are getting killed, and Major Krause gets killed in the end.
Yeah. What do you think, Mason?
All right. Well, to first start off with Krause, I find him a really cool villain. Like, first of all, he was basically the guy who Blade is modeled after, which actually gets some points in my book. and it kind of mostly has sort of like this stone cold hearted nature to him, like especially when he's like in the introduction when he's talk to Hess all about that we had to like you're wasting time. He basically made no process. Then the one soldier he was experimenting on gets up and goes on web. He just basically just guns him down, and then later on with they go to too long puppet show when they show to get the elixir, find out about the magic. Jick, his wife gets gunned down, and he just cold. And when too long, basically just begging them to get out. He doesn't want to leave. He's all like, put him in a second car. Like he doesn't even care about what even happens to his wife. And then when he's about like I think he was just up there to just leaving Elsa to just bleed to death if he even really wants to. And then when he was about to leave, Elsa spits on his shoe, just leading him to just basically just kill her right then and there. They're like really cold hearted.
Yeah, he's definitely the most believable Nazi in the movie, I think. He has that cold, machine-like ruthlessness that you think of when you think of Nazis, you know. And something about his face just portrays it so spine-tinglingly, you know. But go ahead, Mason, continue. What do you think about old Dr. Hess?
Oh, well, Dr. Hess is actually a pretty good character, mostly coming off as like this scientist forced into this position because of his knowledge. He was basically making no process on the whole making indestructible soldiers. Then when he hears what about Andre too long, his puppies, he starts to get interested and actually wants to work with him on this little process. Actually seeing him as sort of like a revolutionary, and which is also noted like a guy he doesn't want anyone to get hurt, especially when after Elsa got shot, he basically calls out for his actions, like it was totally uncalled for. Then,
yeah,
before it comes to shove, he ends up join forces with too long to basically just get out of Germany, and escape the Nazis.
Well, dude, half those fucking scientists, like a bunch of real life Dr. Hesses, just came and worked for us in NASA and shit after World War II. Like we scooped them up and did the same thing to them. You know, I don't think most of them even were actual Nazis. It was like a law you had to pledge to the party and shit over there during the time. So I'm sure they all had like registration papers as being like Nazi party members because of it's that or get shot or sent to the concentration camps, because they're not going to let the other countries get a hold of the knowledge that you have as like a preeminent or a eminent scientist, you know. So guys like Dr. Hess were basically at gunpoint to be part of that shit. Some of them more enthusiastically than others, but I think that was motivated by just being like legit real world mad scientists more than it was any sort of weird racial ideologies or anything. When you do a lot of reading on those crazy mad scientists they had in World War II, a lot of those guys were just fucking nuts, like before they were ever even killing Jews, you know? So I don't think it had anything to do with that. Scientists, so you know, they're a wily bunch. You get the regular ones, and I'm sure there's still mad scientists in the world. Just the proper officials capture those dudes before we ever have to hear about them, you know. Because for sure, the pursuit of weird stuff like that tends to send people off the edge a little bit. Dr. Hess seems like one of those good doctors that was probably just hanging out, trying to find ways to like help old people not age as much or something, and maybe had some breakthroughs, and the Nazis just snatched him up, and then there he is, you know. I don't know, is there any elaboration in the comics, Mason? You're usually the go-to authority on that.
In the comics, I basically like, I think it's like we both, I mean, we kind of get information like about who she was as a person as, and this film, though, it's also basically the origin story of both Blade and Leech. When we're kind of given sort of insight of who Pinhead and Jester was as people. Jester was a bookkeeper who was gunned down from the Nazis because of his jokes. Pinhead was a truck driver who smuggled food to Jewish camps, kind of giving more insight on who they were, kind of, well, we kind of matches sort of how they acted in the film with Jessica sort of be seeing a jokey trickster and Pan B so the big boo who kind of had sort of a soft side to him. Though strangely, Tunnel and 6-year identities were kept pretty anonymous, as they never really mentioned who they were. I mean, I know that for Tunnel they mentioned who he is in a trading card as as a young miner who worked in the mines until he starved to death.
Yeah, they would do that a lot, unfortunately, during the war. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and 6-year was said to be a sort of double agents, kind of give away secrets to both parties, which is, in a way, kind of interesting since in this film he kind of seems like the one who's more into like sort of like knowing who to really trust. Like when Dr. Hess first appears to too long in his little hideout, 6-year like weighs his guns up like he was actually ready to shoot him if he ever makes the wrong move. Then later on the film when Hess dying, it is all supposed to be like all you need to survive, and then when too long looks like 6-year guy gives him a nod, like he kind of also is like his way of saying he deserves a second chance. And I guess when taking the comics into position, is more like he deserves a second chance, just like me.
I feel that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's actually kind of beautiful, you know. What about old Stein, that bug-eyed fucking spy? What do you think of that, dude?
Yeah, the guy was kind of a scumbag, mostly just a whole critique about, like, he said himself as sort of like a puppeteer himself. So which kind of saw like in the opening where you play like with a little skeleton like marionette. And that little scumbag kind of spy on too long, figured out about the puppets and ended up getting killed by both Pinhead and Leech Woman.
As he should, you know. The fact that he is also a puppeteer makes it especially heinous that he would target Toulon for the satire of the Führer or whatever, because that's what puppet shows are all about, is like poking fun at stuff and fun, you know.
In a way, he was also kind of a hypocrite. Like before he left, he was messing around with the car, and then he basically like put like little smoke actually made like sort of a Hitler mask as it says, "Have your asshole ready." Like so, like he's kind of like being a hypocrite. Like he's basically making fun of Hitler in that one set.
Yeah, he's just a slime ball. Like he's down to do it himself, but he's going to target this better puppeteer for doing it. And then, oh, conveniently, this guy also has like a serum that the higher ups want, you know. But let's put it this way: even if there was strings attached to the Toulon puppets, Stein still would have turned him in. Like even if there was no mystical remedy involved that the Nazis wanted, if Toulon was just a regular puppeteer that was doing that same show, that little weasel Stein still would have fucking turned him in, you know. So he got everything he deserved, in my opinion. In terms of supporting characters on the good side in this movie, I mean, I feel like we pretty much just have Peter and his dad, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I think they're really the only ones in here. We do have an appearance of Michelle Bauer as Lily in the film. I don't know if where you'd put her at, but yeah, Peter and his dad are pretty much the supporting characters, other than Hess, who's kind of, you know, in a gray area. What do you guys think of Peter and his dad? We'll go with you first, Mikey.
Well, Peter and his dad are at the show when Toulon's doing the puppet show, and later on they find Toulon hiding from the Nazis, and they decided to join him. They said that they were hiding for a few days, and Peter was interested in the puppets, and Toulon made him his assistant. So he tries to help Toulon fix six-shooter, and he goes back to Toulon's place and gets the parts. But then Dr. Hess and one Nazi come in, and Dr. Hess gives him some food and milk to drink, and Peter tells Dr. Hess where Toulon is, so Dr. Hess leaves the Nazi behind, and he goes with Peter in the hideout, and Peter and Dr. Hess see Toulon, and Dr. Hess and Toulon talk about the secret, and his father comes in and takes Peter away, and then they get back together after Dr. Hess and their dad are dead. And I think it's really good.
What about you, Mason? What do you think about these characters, Peter and his dad?
Well, to start off with, Peter, he's pretty all right character. Kind of serve as sort of like this young youth who's actually a maid. Actually, kind of looks up too long as like his love wants to be his assistant, his puppet show. In a way, kind of came up, made the film sort of like not really like a family friendly, but kind of sort of gives sort of like that. Most of it, Peter acts like sort of like the young youth, like he sees the puppets without the strings. He's basically a maid, especially when he like pokes at Jesse. He does that little like
yeah,
like,
classic
moment. As for his daddy, in a way, it's kind of like a great, like he does care about his family, though he basically ends up kind of betraying too long after he gave him a place to stay because he knows about the bounty, when he knew about like the bounty on it, and mostly just so him and his son could be safe. I mean, though it's kind of a biggest move, at the same time, it was basically what he saw was best for his family.
Right. I fully agree, dude. Good. Sorry.
And like I think that's something like I think even too long ago, basically like when his father showed up, he said like, "Get away from my son." He grabbed like a crowbar, and too long was like, to Peter, go to him, and basically none of the puppets actually try to attacking him. Kind of all like they don't know really why he's doing this. He's not like some backstabber. He's just,
and even the way Toulon says it is like, go with your dad. I understand why this is happening. Like it's all said without being said, kind of, you get me? Like,
yeah,
it's implied that they all, exactly what you're saying. Like they all know that he's not a bad guy. He's not trying to hurt them. He's just freaking out. I mean, it's wartime, like Germany, even their own citizens were desperate as fuck and like dying all the time and shit. So definitely, he was trying to provide for his kid and find a way out of the situation, and that seemed like the easiest route. You could argue Peter betrayed him too by squawking to fucking Hess. He just luckily spilled his guts to the right guy, because all he really did was like give him food and be nice to him and talk to him a little bit and stuff. And being a little kid, I wouldn't say betray is the right word, but he fucked him over for sure. It's just, it worked out right because it was Hess that got the information and not a different Nazi, but that's what little kids do. They're innocent, they don't know not to tell this guy. Like once they're comfortable and they're not thinking about that this dude might be a bad guy, they might tell him things that they shouldn't. That's what little kids do. I mean, they're honest. They're too innocent to be corrupt enough to think to lie immediately most of the time. So that's why it's easy to get kids to tell you stuff if you can make them feel at ease, just historically. So I don't blame Peter for spilling the fucking beans. And I don't really blame his dad for turning Toulon in, on the flip side, if they got caught with him helping him, they'd be shot immediately, So that's also a thing. I mean, you got to weigh some options there. And I like the way they played that out in the film. So I don't know. I guess we'll get into the puppets and their performance in the film and who we think the MVPs of this motherfucker are. The fun stuff, right? We've nailed down the plot pretty well. I mean, pretty much how this goes is eventually they get their hands on a couple of the puppets. The puppets kill some people. We're going to talk about all that in finer detail here momentarily. But, you know, long story short, eventually Toulon has his revenge. You know, they end up killing the fucking general, blowing him out the window, 6-shooter style. And then they go and they find Kraus. And boy, do they do a number on that guy. One of the craziest kills in Puppet Master history, too. Maybe the craziest, I think. I can't think of another one that tops this in extremity and pure, like, sadism, you know? It's pretty nuts. But what do you guys, you know, think about the various puppets in this and who performs better or worse than the other ones? I guess let's just start it off with the good stuff. Who do you think is the MVP of this movie? And as far as puppets go, Mikey, let's hear from you first.
I guess I'm going to have to say 6-shooter because he's the puppet that debuts upon Master 3, and he just shoots most of the Nazis, most of the bad guys away, especially General Mueller. Yeah, I believe so.
What about you, Mason?
Yeah, I think I also agree that the MVP might be 6-shooter. I mean, he arguably has like the most focus out of the puppets. The film basically starts with he's the first puppet introduced. The plot was basically started because of the puppet show that he basically performed and it got the most action, action, kind of had a cool design. Was arguably actually the tallest out of all the puppets thanks to his six arms.
Still is.
Has a cool cackling laugh, and I guess it's pretty obvious why Fullman decided to bring him back for multiple.
Yeah, I always love that shit.
I mean, there's basically a reason why Fullman ends up bringing him back for multiple sequels, unlike most of the other sequel puppets that either get like two film appearances or in Torch's case 3 as of late.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got with 6-shooter what I think all of us wanted with Torch, which was where he was just in every movie. Which is also further compounds the fact that money or time could not have been an issue with the Torch thing. You know how much more time and money it would take to fucking do 6-shooter than Torch? A little bit of flame coming from a fucking, you know, Aquanet can inside of the puppet isn't going to make the fucking budget of that thing go that high. You know, I don't get it. It's a mystery, I think, in Full Moon fandom that will never be completely solved. Like, what the fuck happened? Did they have some agreement with somebody who designed the puppet where they agreed that they would only use it on his approval or something, and then he was just a real shit ass about it for years until he needed money and then started letting him put like stock footage? And I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. What happened? We'll never know. It's like an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. If you have information on the disappearance of Torch from the fucking Puppet Master franchise, contact us at schlockaholics@gmail.com. I agree. 6-shooter is a highlight of the film for sure. It's pretty hilarious too that the puppet that wouldn't get a backstory till years later in comics was the focal point of a movie that had the backstory of 2 other puppets that were already famous from the series. You know, it's a genius way of doing it. It's like you're debuting a new character while simultaneously filling in some blanks with characters that, for my money, after Puppet Master 1 and 2, Leech Woman and Blade are both iconic. You know, so to give them backstories is pretty sick. Well, like you said, they all kind of get backstories, right, Mason? Because there's the whole campfire scene where he's like explaining who the puppets are, basically.
Yep, basically everyone except Tunneler and 6-shooter, they were basically left anonymous in the film and had to be explained who they were in other media. It was basically the origin stories of Blade, Leech Woman, as well as the campfire stories of who Pinna and Jester were.
Right, and I think it's good that they kind of, you know, leave some of it to the imagination. It leaves room to play with it in future sequels or whatever. So I guess, I mean, does anybody else have anything to add for 6-shooter before we move through the roster?
Yeah, I think I'm good on my.
What, you, Mikey?
I guess that's it for now for 6-shooter.
So I don't know. Who do you want to talk about next? Mikey's choice.
I guess Blade. So even though he doesn't come to life till the very end after Dr. Hess dies. But yes, he starts off Major Cross by slashing his foot and slashing his hand, and Major Cross looks at him, and Andre Toulon goes, "Oh, look into one there, is it not? Now you can see what a small man you really are, Major Cross." And Major Cross looks at Blade, and Major Cross sees a smaller version of him before he dies.
Yeah, basically almost in a way making it feel like he's sucked into the whole process of the puppets as well, you know, like, this is your fate too, you fucking Nazi piece of shit. I love the end of this movie. It is one of those things that makes you so fucking hyped to be a Full Moon fan when you watch it too. It's like, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's that type of shit they did back in the day, you know. If someone's only ever seen an Evil Bong movie, I would point them to this moment, even at the end of Puppet Master 3 here, where just to show how epic this shit used to be, you know, and still can be when it wants to. Subspecies 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say this is my favorite scene about the whole movie, when the puppets kill Major Cross and Pinhead sticks all that stuff in him. And Blade goes like this, the last hook on Major Cross, and Toulon pulls him up and sets up the fire, and boom, he's dead.
Yeah, it's sick, dude. And am I wrong in thinking that Pinhead hadn't really used like stabbing weapons until this movie?
Yeah, I don't really think so. I mean, there was the fire poker, but he mostly just whacked it on Tweeza instead of stabbing.
Yeah, I always took that as that, like, the puppets were super pissed, like the most pissed that we've ever seen them at the end of this movie because of Toulon's wife and everything that had happened up to that point, you know. And Pinhead's like actually like viscerally stabbing him with shit, you know. I think that's a cool touch because his attacks were always like strength based or blunt objects before, you know. He'd just whack you with something or like twist your leg or some shit.
And throwing a brick at that one Nazi.
There you go. He Home Aloned his ass. That's seasonally appropriate right now for sure. Go ahead, Mason.
I was gonna say, like, in a way, the kills was like way more brutal. Like the first puppet kills was really with Pinhead strangling this one Nazi soldier while Tunnel just basically drills through the driver right through the stomach and causing him to crash. And when, of course, Stein's dead, where Pinhead basically just keeps beating his face with a wrench until he's just basically just bleeding, and Leech Woman coming up to just basically just puke up leeches on his face, just adding more to sort of the misery, or the one soldier who ended up during the escape who ended up getting drilled in the leg by Tunnel, and Leech Woman starts dunking, puking leeches all over his face, and him screaming in agony until one of them goes into his throat.
Yeah, such a cool scene, dude. I love it.
Yeah, the puppets are an awesome kill.
Sorry, Mikey, go ahead.
That's an awesome kill, yes.
Yeah, the fucking puppets are super brutal in this one. You know, but they're out for personal revenge in this one. It's not like in the previous films where they were just doing the bidding of whatever dickbag was like controlling them. And, you know, it was the dude in the first one, and then it was Toulon, and they were both kind of being dickbags, and the puppets were just doing their job, I guess. And this one, it's personal, you know. And it comes through good in almost all the kills. But that ending kill with Krauss is like, it's like sadistic, you know, in an epic way, because it's totally deserved. It's one of those finale kills are just sequences in a horror film. It rivals like anything from, you know, gorier films like Hellraiser and stuff like that to me, because it's just so well deserved, you know, when the dude's finally getting his comeuppance, and it's long and drawn out, kind of calls back to the first film. Because in a lot of ways, you know, while they did do some callbacks to the finale of the first film in Puppet Master 2, it was kind of like sped up, you know. They weren't trying to waste any time with it in Puppet Master 2, which I could agree with. It probably would have been some wasted time in that one. But watching Kraus die in a nice, long, drawn-out fashion did not bum me out at all. They kind of did almost what they did with, what was his name in the first one? The villain guy. I forget it. Gallagher?
Neil Gallagher, Jimmy F. Skaggs.
Gallagher?
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of did almost the same thing they did with him, kind of like they did in Puppet Master 2, but this time it worked out in like an iconic way, you know. And I loved it. They dismantled that motherfucker and gave him everything he deserved. So I guess, you know, your choice now, Mason. What's another puppet you just think deserves mention in this film?
I think to me it's just a doll you mentioned Blade. We should go to like the next puppet who this film is basically an origin story of Leech Woman, who had sort of an interesting backstory of her actually being too long's wife, especially with the doll that ends up becoming Leech Woman is actually supposed to basically be modeled after her as like a little gift, and it kind of looked like a regular like normal doll.
Yeah, it's sort of normal gift of his wife, but he gives it a makeover when he has to turn her into a killing machine. You guys, you continue talking and then go to Mikey when you're done. You know, say everything you were about to say. I gotta let the cat out. I can hear you guys like always, but I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah. So like when Toulon basically puts Leech Elsa's soul into the doll that will end up becoming Leech, well, she kind of starts out like shaking, like can't really control her by Elsa. Toulon's all like, Elsa, this is the best I could do for your doll, and then taking the Leech and goes all like, but you can still avenge yourself. And when given the Leech, she basically ends up her skin ends up changing into like a pale violet like color that now ends like in full control, and that's the Leech Woman was born. And in a way, I really like her like little wardrobe. Almost like in a way that she was actually given like the most respect out of all the parts. Like her dress, it kind of pretty gorgeous, like flashy in a sense. And in a way, it kind of brings along the lines like in a way like aside from Blade, all the puppets are basically modeled after the people who end up possessing them. Like you could make Pinhead. It kind of looks like he could, like it's sort of like a truck driver at the time, change just his clothes and add glasses. He could come off as a bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all match up. I think Blade is the only one that really doesn't, and there's a more of a, I guess, a poetic justice like reason for that. You know, it's the doctor that, you know, the most sinister Nazi they dealt with, the doctor that he was using as his pawn or whatever, is in a body that resembles him for that final kill scene. And then he gets to basically live in that guy's image and do good for the rest of his days as a puppet, you know. Everyone else though matches up, right? Like they look like who they're supposed to be. And the Leech Woman, I think, is the best example of that.
Yeah. So kind of an interesting question. Like Toulon actually basically started making Blade right after Mueller's death. Like in a way, he was a puppet that was basically already planned, which kind of brings the question of who was Toulon originally gonna put inside of him, since it seemed like
he was gonna put him in there. You
Yeah.
know, I think that it was gonna be Kraus or whatever in the puppet, like sort of enslaved to because he was pissed, you know. In the end, it worked out that he was able to use the puppet to preserve Hess after Hess died. you know. So he was able to save a friend with it instead of making it just purely an instrument of revenge, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Formerly seen as like a torturous prison turned into basically his most deadliest creation.
Mm-hmm. Face of the franchise still to this day. Don't see that changing anytime ever. I guess the puppet that I would, well, we've kind of touched on all the puppets pretty much. They all did a great job in this movie for what they were in for. This might be the only movie too where I don't feel like there's a puppet that feels underutilized, you know. They all get their shine, they all get their moments. I mean, there's favorite moments for all of them throughout the film. You get backstories to a couple, and then you get introduced to a new one. There's really no complaints that I could see anybody having about the puppet end of this film or the, you know, human end of it. I think that it all kind of comes together perfectly. Is there anything that you would have liked to have seen more of in this film, or if there was something you could change about Puppet Master 3, what would it be? I guess we'll go with you first, Mikey.
Well, Jester doesn't really kill anybody. He does, like, cut or stab or slash the leg of that one doctor who thought to call the guards because Toulon's taking the brain matter out of his wife Elsa to create Leech Woman, and Pinner rips that alarm off. So maybe they should have had Jester, like, kill a Nazi or two. I'm gonna have to say that because Jester doesn't really kill anybody. He just slashes that one guy and that's it. I like to see him kill more. And of course, Eric Stein, he stares at Eric Stein as Pinner waxes him and he falls down. Jester spins his head, but then Leechman comes in and spits leeches and kills Eric Stein until one goes, "Good night, fellow puppeteer." That's like the only things Jester really does, really.
Yeah. And coming from you, that's the most legitimate complaint ever. I mean, I can fully understand why you would want more Jester in the movie. And I get it. I do feel like Jester was a solid highlight of the first two films, you know, in that way that he wasn't really doing much, but he was there providing like vibes and assists. And I do still think that that's true in this film. But I agree. I think I would have liked a little bit more Jester stuff in there. What about you, Mason?
Basically, for like puppet action, I don't really have much to complain. I think really, I mean, sure, Jester doesn't really kill anyone in this film, though he kind of does as technical assist with Stein being sort of so that's basically the distraction.
Yeah, it counts in hockey. It counts in puppets. That's my opinion.
And Krause, when he basically like cuts his phone line flying, Krause was basically coming up basically ready to shoot him. Then Blade slashes his leg and handcuffs. So
yeah.
Well, I think in a way, like one thing I would like, even though it's not really much, is basically just there'll be a brief mention of Toulon telling us who Tunnel and Six Shooter were and not having to like go to like cars to really know who they were.
Well, as we know, there was much grander plans for the sequel to this movie. The sequels. It was supposed to go into the, what was it called? I forget it at the moment.
Puppet Wars, I think.
Puppet Wars, yeah.
That was
yeah, that was supposed to be where this went.
Like a mini-series, like with just puppets, I guess.
Well, it would have been the trilogy within the trilogy, right? Like kind of how they have, you know, Friday the 13th, you know, 4, 5,
Friday the 13th, 4, 5, and 6. Trilogy on the art.
Yeah. Bombshell was originally supposed to be a part of that. I think a couple of those other ones that we got in the Axis trilogy. I'm not specific on who at the moment. But yeah, it was supposed to be a whole thing. They were going to fight some universal monsters that the fucking Nazis were like trying to import for battle purposes or something. It sounded fucking awesome, you know, and you can still read the scripts and things online. And one of these days, maybe we should do like a script read through of Puppet Wars stuff because it'd be neat. But, you know, that's obviously not where it went. They had to pivot to 4 and 5, which we'll cover in the future and heap all sorts of praise on because those movies fucking rule too. 5 a little bit less than 4, but there's reasons for that. I still think that they managed to, despite the circumstances, make some really stellar sequels to this. I do, however, wish that we could all peek into that alternate universe where they still had Paramount money for like another decade, and we got all three of those Puppet Wars movies. You know.
Yeah, and like I said, it didn't really like just something that would have been like interesting to know before. But like I said, it didn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It's just one of that could have been interesting thing to add it. If the case like of not having to go to the comics for info.
Hey girl, and then we got DJ Mums with the Jester Mikey Rocks. Sorry, I did not see those comments earlier. We were so engrossed. Yeah, I don't know what I would change about this. I don't think much or anything. Pretty much stuff that you guys have listed, I can understand. I don't know that I would have added more backstory to the, but that's kind of what I was getting at by mentioning Puppet Wars. I don't know that I would have added more backstory to Six Shooter or Tunneler because there was like grander sequels planned. So we could have had that shit explained further in those sequels. And I imagine it probably would have been. And who knows if it would have been the same explanations we got from the people who authored the comics later on, you know. It's interesting to think about, to say the least. Like what the, in my mind, I always thought that Six Shooter's backstory might be that he was like one of those Hollywood actors that got sent to World War II and then maybe got like, you know, like it just so happened he was a guy that was in a bunch of Westerns and then he got put into like a concentration camp or something and somehow ended up escaping and meeting Toulon and helping him for a while as like a gunslinger. Or something. I don't know. There could have been like a cool way to incorporate like a Hollywood cowboy aspect into it. Because for some reason, that's always what I thought about with Six Shooter.
Yeah, Six Shooter kind of had sort of that showman like personality. I mean, wait, like in the pub show, Six Shooter came off as like his star attraction. So you kind of get like the idea that he was basically like a Hollywood superstar of sorts.
Right, like one of those dudes that would travel around and do the Wild West shows back in the olden days of that kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Six Shooter is like the Wild West. The Pub Master, the cowboy.
Yeah, so to find out that he was like this double agent or whatever, I mean, it works, but not what I would have envisioned for the character. And I feel like maybe, given the people writing the stuff back then, they might have gone closer to the Hollywood cowboy origin, because there's a lot of those like actors that ended up having to serve in World War II and shit, you know, so they ended up over there involved in, you know, and when you think of cowboys, you think of like America, right? Like I think every country on the planet, other countries have cowboys like South America, but when you think of the Six Shooter style of cowboy that's presented here, you think of the Wild West of, you know, the United States. I don't know, man. I think it would have been cool to continue with the Nazi stuff, as was the plan with Puppet Wars. That's the only thing I would change about this, is that Puppet Wars actually happened. But then we probably wouldn't have Puppet Master 4 and 5, which I think are super rad. So it's a tough decision to make because I have so much nostalgia for those two films. But yeah, I don't know. I guess to close it out, do you guys have like a favorite scene from Puppet Master 3? I know me and Mikey are probably both in the same boat with as far as kill scenes go.
When all of a sudden Kraus with Jester, cuts the wire off the phone line, then Blade cuts his leg and hand, and then Pinhead sticks the hooks in him, and Toulon pulls him out, burns the flag, sets up the fire, and boom! Lands on the axe, and boom, Kraus is dead. Not the puppets win, the good guys win.
Yeah, legend has it afterwards Chris Angel came out and did a magic show. I went to a fucking Ozfest once where they suspended the people above the stage. It's a very inside joke that I shouldn't have made here. What were you gonna say, Mason?
I was gonna say, yeah, my favorite death has to be Kraus's death. I'll agree, it's like my overall favorite kill scene in the franchise was him basically hung like a human marionette. I think as for like other favorite scenes, I think my other ones kind of is so like the either like two ones talk about when revenge going on, no mercy, my friends, no mercy, and basically the reveal of him doing sort of the big reveal of Blade fully constructed to the other and showing it all to the other puppets who look on with intrigue.
Yeah, that's so fucking epic, dude. I mean, it's honestly on par with any of those like awesome supervillain / anti-hero speeches you hear in like comic book movies nowadays and shit, right? Like it just gets me fired up every single time, you know. Like, yes, unleash the puppets, you know. Have your revenge. Like, it's just amazing. And it's Guy Rolfe's performance 1,000% that makes that, you know. You could have put anybody else right there in that role and it would not have worked. Imagine if it was William Hickey. This movie turns into a comedy real quick. I mean, I love him in Christmas Vacation, but that's that dude, you know. Can you imagine if he was fucking trying to do this dialogue in this film? Holy shit. His dentures would be falling out of his face. Who knows what else would happen. Rest in peace, William Hickey, because he's definitely dead by now. I don't know, man. I love this movie. If I had to, okay, so what would be your guys' favorite scenes then? Like outside of the Toulon speech and the Krauss kill, like what's like a little scene that you really like a bunch, or like a dialogue exchange between characters that you particularly enjoy, or something like that. Just a couple of highlights a piece, you know. What about you, Mason?
Well, I kind of always said like one of my favorite scenes was basically like Blade's reveal when he basically basically when like the ending scene with him finally alive, mostly like him being fully constructed. Yeah.
What else? You got another one in there that you particularly
I think another
enjoy?
one would basically like the little scene with Peter poking Jess and Jess doing that little reaction.
Do your impression of it again. It was really good.
Oh.
Yeah, I love it. What about you, Mikey?
That's another favorite scene of mine too. And Jester goes like this when Peter tries to touch him. It's funny. It cracks me up. And I also like the scene when Jester cuts that doctor, stabs him right in the leg, when Toulon takes the brain matter from Elsa. And another scene that I like is when Dr. S is back in his lab, and this one dead soldier brought back to life, bald-headed one. He's got his brain is like shotting out, and he puts the gun in his mouth, and he's like, in his eye. He falls down. That kind of cracks me up.
Fuck yeah, Mikey. That is probably the most metal scene of the movie, is where the guy's trying to blow his already blown out brains out. Whoever decided on that had a real sick sense of humor that I enjoy quite a bit. And that would be a highlight for me too. I hadn't even thought about that until you just brought it up, but that fucking scene does rule. I don't know. I think the puppet show is a favorite for me. I don't know why it is. Like in every single Puppet Master movie where they actually show a puppet show, I get so fucking hyped, because it just, for me, cements the idea that these were all puppets before he infused them with like the souls of these people that he felt needed to live on, you know. And it really brings home that whole Pinocchio thing we've talked about in the past, like the whole Geppetto vibe, where he's given these people second chances at life, or a chance at life, to, you know, do something good with it. And I think that that's pretty fucking cool. So I always tend to really like the puppet show scenes in these movies. I think, you know, another one that I would have to highlight, just because the more we've talked about it, I do realize how iconic it is that sort of campfire scene where he's telling them the origins of the puppets. It's very reminiscent to me, the more I've thought about it, with like Master Splinter and the Ninja Turtles thing, like kind of talking about their origin stories, that like solemn, you know, historical vibe that it has to it. And I think that's pretty great. I doubt that Master Splinter in Ninja Turtles was something that they were or like looking at in terms of how to construct that. I think it's just like the energy of both the scenes have a similar flavor to it almost, you know. God, I love that first Ninja Turtles movie. It's so good. The other ones are I can take
It
them or
is
leave
really
them.
good, that first Ninja Turtles movie. The way the turtles move and everything, and the Shredder, it's really awesome. And the kids playing in the arcade and everything.
Casey fucking Jones, everything.
Yes, when he knocks the two criminal guys down. Yeah, that's a real awesome scene. And him and Raphael get at it. And he knocks Raphael, and Raphael goes flying into a garbage can. He's all pissed off. He runs after Casey Jones, and he yells, "Damn!"
After he walked out of Critters, he went and saw Critters, and he's like, "Who comes up with this garbage or whatever?" I love that so much. We just covered Critters not that long ago. Check out our
Yeah, because when he's coming out of the theater, you notice the Critters poster is right there behind him. That's a good point in the movie.
And that's actually kind of interesting. Like, the thing is, I think both Critters and the Ninja Turtles were actually made by the same studio, New Line Cinema.
I believe so. Yeah, it's a cross-promotional thing. Genius one, though. Because I think there's so many people to this day that probably don't realize Critters is a real movie. You know, you'd be surprised the amount of pop culture crossover that doesn't happen. You know, where there's people that are like massive Ninja Turtles fans. Well, I guess if they're massive fans at this point with the internet, they probably found out through Googling that, you know, Critters is real. But there was a time where I'm sure people thought it was a made-up movie for the movie. You know. I don't know why. And yes, this did turn into a very brief Ninja Turtles special right here. I don't know why that scene in the park with Casey Jones is always cemented in my... I mean, I fucking loved Casey Jones the instant that I saw him. You know, it's like, holy shit, this guy has like hockey sticks and cricket bats and various other sports equipment in this thing, and he's just going around like fighting fucking muggers with it. I mean, it's such the coolest idea of like a vigilante. But for some reason in that scene, as awesome as all of it is, the thing that really I always take away is that you got to know what a crumpet is to know what cricket is. It makes me laugh every fucking time I say it or hear it, you know? Like, what? We all know that's English baseball, dude. That's definitely like a turtle from the fucking sewers thing to say, because he just knows that crickets and crumpets are both English things, you know. But maybe there's someone out there that's unaware of cricket. I don't know. Back to the task at hand. Puppet Master 3 rules. And this is not the last Puppet Master movie that we're going to be covering. We have a lot more to go, and we're going the distance. Do you have any other Puppet Master swag to show off tonight? Mikey always has a grip of some cool collectibles.
Yes, here's a fact. When Puppet Master 3 first came out on video, these were produced and these came out. These are the 5 model kits. Here's Blade.
And he will be showing the rest because the end of the episodes is now known as Mikey's Collectible Corner. So something we're going to be doing in the future. You can participate as well, Mason, and I might on occasion. We don't have as many cool collectibles as Mikey, but we certainly have stuff we can show off. Mikey's Collectible Corner, though, will commence every single week that we do this, because Mike always has like sick shit to do with the movies to show off. So your mic's live again, Mike.
That was Blade, Pinhead, Tunnel, and Torch, and here's the MVP of Puppet Master 3. 6-shooter.
Fucking A, dude.
In fact, they're still in the boxes. They've been in the boxes forever, but at some point, maybe later on, but I'm kind of busy with my videos, and I never got a chance to. I want to put them together and paint them, but I got to figure where a good place where to keep them, and I figure when's a good time to put them all together and paint them, because I'm too busy with my videos right now. And they've been in these boxes forever. But I will at some point.
I do feel like those deserve their own shelf. Like a mounted shelf up on the wall where it's enough space for all of them. And that's why I think Mikey's Collectible Corner at the end of these shows is a good way to close it, because he's always got some crazy thing to show off that, was either in the movie or he's purchased as promotional merchandising after it came out. I think, between our age and the fact that I only really started collecting Full Moon stuff like seriously like 3 or 4 years ago, we're never going to have the shit that Mike has, but it really is a pleasure to be able to look at it with you, dude, like in person. I was envying your videos for a long time before we ever did anything together, just because it's like insane the amount of stuff that you have. It's nuts.
Yeah, so that's because I've been collecting. I've been into Full Moon since I was really young. I had the money and I was able to buy everything. That's why all the stuff I collect it and I show it and I present it, and that's why I'm here on YouTube.
Indeed. One of these days we're going to have some special episodes in between reviews where we get Mikey on and we just hang out while you go through like your Laserdisc collection or something. I think that would be a fun video.
Yes, we'll have to do that, yes.
Yeah, even like basically like have us show off our own collection, like a room, like the Cyclops Full Moon Full Moon collection corner or something like that. Because like as of right now, I basically have like 5 of the new Tiny Terrors right next to me on the desk where my computer is right now. They're all 5 of the Puppet Master related Tiny Terrors: Blade, Tunneler, Leech Woman, 6-Year, Torch. Like one to them right now. Let's see here. Yeah.
Beautiful. I definitely think at some point.
Here's our mystery chase blade.
Yeah, I got
so that's just them having like clear features. The mystery chase ones.
I have like a full shelf on top shelf having like all the figures together. The ones next to me are actually some of the dolls I got from the display box bundle.
Oh yeah.
Look,
I'll be pulling the trigger soon, man. I haven't ordered anything from Full Moon yet. I think New Year I'm gonna kick that off at some point with a little chunk from my tax return too. I'll probably order a few $100 worth of stuff. There's definitely some odds and ends I have to get just to keep the collection complete, and then in terms of collectibles, there's several things that I want. I'm sure some of it will fluctuate in stock. Like, they always have done that with the replicas and acted like they were never going to come back in stock, but they do. I feel like we're going to see more runs of the stuff that we bought in the past. But I do want to get some of those new ones while they're doing them, because who knows how long their deal with that production company is going to last. That's just being real. It's not me trying to hate or anything like that on Full Moon. It's just logistical facts. If we want to collect that stuff, we got to get it while the getting's good. I don't know, man. I'm just so pleased to keep doing this with you guys. You have no idea. I was looking forward to this so much, and I think that this episode went really good. We got to reminisce about Puppet Master 3. I think we covered all the bases. And I'm just looking forward to all the future ones. We had a little bit of a break for the holiday season, but I think we came back with a vengeance on this thing, and then we got Subspecies next week. And I've got some new things I'm going to be implementing over here more regularly, like I have with our main reviews. And hopefully that's going to spice things up a bit in a way that's going to be pretty sick. I do think at some point we should start reviewing like an issue of Delirium once a month. I think that could be a fun thing for us to do. I have the ability to scan the issue into the computer so that we can actually have like pages flipping by in a box while we're talking about them and stuff. I think it's a cool thing that no one's really doing with Full Moon stuff. I think people are just blindly collecting Delirium and not really reading it as a magazine. I was guilty of that for a while, but I've read pretty deep into it, like 13, 14 issues, and it's pretty consistently good. It's basically just old school Fangoria, but with a Full Moon slant. And I think it would be a cool thing to break down each month. Might get us some additional viewers from those people that aren't planning on reading the issues. Let's be real, most of them aren't. I had a good run for a while where I was taking those delirium issues to work and reading them like at least one a week. And I'd highly recommend doing it. But if we're going to do a review series on it, you guys might want to wait. But we can wait on it too and line it up to where we hit the month where the first delirium issue came out. Do either of you guys know what the month was for the first issue?
I think it was like maybe some time in January or February. Maybe
I feel like it
hold on.
I think so, yeah. I think so, January, February, something like that.
Well, it looks like Mason's going to confirm it for us, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll go grab my issue of delirium.
All right. If we can line it up where we're covering them like once a month or bi-monthly as they went, that would be pretty cool.
First issue of delirium. Hold on. No, am I covering? No, I'm covered. See, you might not see it right now. It's seemed like it was released in February.
That's the February-March issue, it looks like.
Yeah.
So that's exactly when we need to hit it then. Well, get in the habit of doing an issue of Delirium at the end of the month when they dropped, because that would be a February-March issue. And then I believe the next one is because it's bi-monthly, right? It comes out once every 2 months.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so we only have to do one every 2 months, where we just each of us commit to reading the issue and then talking about it, And that gives us cool opportunities to talk about ads that Full Moon was running at the time, movies that they were promoting at the time, like long before we'll be reviewing them on the show. It gives us a chance to talk about movies that Full Moon has distributed. It gives us a chance to talk about movies they have nothing to do with, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or things like that. So it opens up the Full Moon experience to everything that Full Moon fans could be enjoying if they were actually reading the magazine. Unfortunately, I don't think they are. I think it's really just a labor of love and collectability that Delirium has existed as long as it has. But I know Chris Alexander is like a legit dude, so that's the reason it's been consistently good as long as it has too.
Yeah, I have a tendency to actually look through each issue of Delirium to kind of see what the content is inside every issue I get. I mean, also kind of interesting, in a way, there's only a handful of issues that actually center around Full Moon. Everything else is basically around obscure horror films, or kind of celebrity. These are at the time, when
it's around the whole culture of people that watch the Full Moon movies. I would argue that every issue is Full Moon centric and that they cover a lot of Full Moon stuff in each issue. But the cover articles in each issue aren't always Full Moon related. Again, Texas Chainsaw.
So one of them had Gene Simmons on it, and one of them had Demons too.
Yeah, I mean it's like Fangoria, they have their main core shit that they cover, and then they cover main articles about all sorts of stuff, whatever the people at Full Moon are also fans of, which makes it pretty fucking awesome, and we're all, you guys are predominantly Full Moon fans. I think I'm the most general horror fan of the three of us, but you guys also like other horror movies, and there's always room for you to learn about other crazy shit. And then when you learn about some of that crazy shit, you learn about influences the dudes at Full Moon had. I reference Italian horror and stuff all the time because I've watched a lot of that. So when I see obvious Italian horror influences and shit, it just jumps right out at me because it was a thing for so many of us back in the day, and still to this day. I love a good spaghetti slasher or some weird murder mystery, or all the stuff Full Moon releases from over there, like some sex film, like I like all the sleazy exploitation stuff. I mean, I'm into the shit that Charlie Band is into, basically. So when you look at Full Moon historically over the years, they've always released a lot of that stuff. So it makes sense that Delirium would focus on a lot of that stuff in addition to their own products, But yeah, I think we did this justice, guys. I don't know. You guys got anything you want to plug? You got anything coming up, Mikey? Any videos that are about to drop?
Well, my next official video will be in January. I'm just calling it Jester Mikey in 2024 because it starts the year. I got a couple custom-made replicas coming. I got my Full Moon shirts I got for Christmas. I didn't get a chance to show yet. I got my Jack Attack DVD and Blu-ray, Jack Attack the Montoy spin-off. And I got my Puppet Master jacket. I'm going to show that. That's going to be in my next video in January, my next official video. You'll see all that.
Looking forward to it, man. I mean, I love seeing your video updates and everything. I don't personally have anything going on, but on the Schlockaholics channel, we definitely do have some reviews coming up. We're going to be doing Scanners Wednesday after next, and then 2 Wednesdays after that, we're going to be doing Dead and Buried for the Schlockaholics Classic Cuts. So if you're a fan of Scanners or Dead and Buried, join us for those. Our next obvious Full Moon discussion is going to be Subspecies, and then that's going to be followed by several others. For the main show, our next episode is going to be the Herschel Gordon Lewis classic, Color Me Blood Red. So we got all that stuff going on. In addition to our bi-weekly, shit shooting sessions where we just get together and talk about all the other stuff we've been watching. So if you guys ever want to get on for one of those, talk about your weekly watch list of Full Moon stuff, you're more than welcome. We're always glad to hear about that kind of thing. I'm trying to launch some other stuff. I'm also trying to weigh like when it's reasonable to do it. But with the Godzilla stuff coming out lately, I do feel like it's finally time to launch a little bit of a monthly Godzilla podcast. So if either you guys have any interest in doing that with me, you are more than welcome. I'm going to probably start it out with just 1954 Godzilla next month. So end of January. And it'll just be Kaiju Monthly, baby. We'll just be cranking out a giant monster movie once a month. So thank you guys for watching. As always, we have been just a collection of dudes that like Full Moon movies a lot. Jester Mikey likes the Bud Light. I'm more of a Pabst Blue Ribbon man myself, but that's the beauty of America. We can all get together, find common ground, and build an empire, baby. Pun intended. We'll be back next time with some more fucking Full Moon action. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys take this as a good opportunity to get there. Appreciate your local 6-shooter replicas because they're just tiny children that need hugs and everything like that too. His little dude's name, Jody, is Blade, named after the Puppet Master puppet. Mikey actually has a little plushie of that fella just to his left right there. Blade is the face of the Puppet Master franchise and also the new face of this podcast because that bearded dragon is chill as fuck. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you back here real soon. And obviously enjoy the holidays. Thank your friends. Hug your family. He is very cute. And we'll see you back here real soon.